I believe that we are living in the time when people can experience the greatest credit card that's ever been conceived, the most rewarding and valuable card that anybody in the history of our financial system in the United States has ever been able to acquire. And do you want to miss out on greatness? What would it have been like to be able to watch Jordan play with the Bulls? If you could go back in time and get tickets to see Tiger play golf in his prime, or maybe Arnold Palmer back in the day, would you do that? Well, we are living in the time of what I believe is the greatest credit card, the most rewarding card that's ever been issued. And it's available right now, today, if we don't let this time pass us by. Let me tell you why. Please hit the like and subscribe button, and we'll dive into it. There have been a lot of great credit cards through the years. You can go back and look at some of the hotel cards of years gone by that were extremely rewarding. There's even a card that some people still have, the old Sears card with Citibank, and it was extremely rewarding as far as the points and the rewards that a person could earn. And I even have a card called the Citi Prestige card that's not available anymore, and it gives 5x on dining and 5x on airfare and just a lot of great perks. And in the very beginning, it even gave free golf and unlimited fourth nights free. Those were all fantastic credit cards that were available. But I'm telling you, in my opinion, the card that's out now, that's available for anybody to apply for, is the greatest credit card ever, and that is the BILT Palladium card. Now, I need to address a few things here in the beginning, because there is going to be a lot of negative comments on this video. I get it. There's strong opinions about BILT. Some people despise them because the way that they did BILT 1.0, it rewarded people at a low spend threshold just to put a few small charges on the card, and you could get points from your rent or mortgage. And that's gone. And people don't like it because of that. The other thing is people don't like it because of its complexity. I mean, I'm going to get into some math here that I'm not even sure if I did all the math right, but I worked at it a long time. And even if I did it wrong, even if it's half as good as my math comes out, then it's still really awesome. But it is challenging when it comes to figuring it out, because your rewards change at different thresholds as far as how much you spend, and your rewards change based upon how much you value the BILT Cash. So it's difficult. I get it. It is not a card that a person who just wants an easy setup is going to do. No. It takes a lot of work. You got to be a gamer. So I realize some people are going to hate that. I acknowledge it fully. Then there's the fact that BILT is kind of a little fly-by-night in the way they run their business. I mean, the rollout was pretty terrible. Then they gave another option because it seemed too confusing to people. And now there's reports that some people are having trouble getting their mortgages or rent payments to post correctly. Customer service issues. They call in and they don't get anybody to call them back. I mean, there's just a slew of problems. So I'm going to be very clear. If you are a person who just wants simple and you don't ever want to have to deal with any potential headaches, and you want it all to just kind of easily math out for you, then it's probably not the card for you. But if it's not the card for you, I'm telling you, you could be losing out on incredible potential rewards as far as how many points and how many perks you can get back from this card that is just hands down amazing. The other thing people say is that, well, is it going to last? I don't know. I mean, it does seem a little bit too good to be true, especially for a company that seems to, kind of be finding their way as they go. So will it last? I don't know. But will anything in this world last? Things change. So the key is be able to take advantage of things while you still can. Now let's dive into why I think it is the greatest credit card of all time. Well, it is a $495 annual fee, what we would call kind of a premium travel card. And the Palladium card, there are others in the lineup. There's the BILT Blue and there's the BILT Obsidian, and I may do videos on those down the road because they're very good cards as well. But this card is just so incredible in the sense that it gives two types of rewards. In fact, it really kind of potentially gives three kinds of rewards, because kind of its main value proposition is BILT is the only company that will give you points on either your rent or your mortgage. Now, it used to be easy. If you just did 5 swipes with BILT 1.0 and you bought the classic thing people would say is 5 bananas, then you could get your points on your mortgage. That didn't work out for anybody. The bank, BILT, anybody. So they've changed it. Now under BILT 2.0, to get the points from your mortgage, it's got two types of systems. And we're going to focus primarily on the second with BILT Cash, because I think that's where the real value is. But just real quick, I'll explain the first. So under that first system, and they came out with that after they announced the other, and they did that because so many people were up in arms about how confusing it is. And I admit, it's a little hard to figure out the math. But on the first system, Tier 1, it's just based upon how much you spend. So BILT has to have you spending money on the card to get swipe fees so that they can stay in business if they're giving you points on your mortgage or rent. And so how it works, if you spend 25% of your mortgage amount, then you get 50% of your mortgage in points. Now, if you move your spending up to 50% of your mortgage amount, so if you spend $1,000 of your $2,000 mortgage on the card on other stuff, of course, then you get 75% of your mortgage amount. So in that example, you'd spend $1,000 on the card on other things, not mortgage and rent, and you'd get 1,500 points of your $2,000 mortgage. So that comes out pretty good. And then the next tier is if you spend 75% of your mortgage. So in the previous example, if you spend $1,500 of your $2,000 mortgage, you're going to get the full 100% or 2,000 extra points on top of that. And then the final tier, which is kind of where the real sweet spot is if you spend 100% of your mortgage. So on a $2,000 mortgage, if you spend $2,000 on the card on other things, then you're going to get 125% of your mortgage. So that would mean you get 2,500 points of your mortgage. And so you add all that together, and that comes out to a pretty solid return. I mean, well over 2%. And that's an okay option. I mean, if the second option wasn't here, it'd still be the best on the market, no doubt. And it is easier for people who just want it to be a little more simple. So in that scenario, you can just go out and spend on your card, and whatever threshold you get to, you're going to get some extra points on your mortgage, which is a really, really good deal. Now, before we get into the BILT Cash option, let me tell you that it's got other things on the card for that $495. You do have things like you receive a priority pass, and you can take in guests with that priority pass. So that's kind of par for the course for these high-end cards. You get some credits to offset the card fee. So you get $200, comes out to $400 a year, hotel credits if you book through BILT. One for the first half of the year, one for the second half of the year. It's got to be a 2-night stay. And that's pretty easy to use. I've already used it. It was really, really simple in the portal. You get gold status with BILT for a year. And then most likely, if you're really spending on this card, you're going to get to some kind of status over the course of that year for the next year and continue on. But that gold status kind of gives you a jump start. And that means that when they do transfer bonuses, which is another superpower of this card, because I mean, these transfer bonuses can be like, for instance, right now, they're about to offer one to British Airways and that whole group of Avios airlines. And you can get, 60% boost if you're gold status. It can go up from there all the way up to 100% boost depending on your status. And nobody else does transfer bonuses with those kind of extra boosts, with those kind of numbers. And so you get that gold status automatically for the first year. And then they also give you $200 in BILT Cash. And we're going to talk about BILT Cash in a minute. And that's the reason I think so many people who just want simple and who don't want their brain to explode with all the math get so frustrated with this card. Because the earnings on the card are like this. If you choose the BILT Cash option, it's 2x, 2 BILT points per dollar on everything you spend on. That's just the baseline. Now understand, BILT points are very valuable. They have some of the best partners in the game. They have all the real important, or I guess what you'd say, well-known hotel chains, you know, Hyatt, Hilton, Marriott, all of that. They also have some fantastic airlines, Aeroplan, other great foreign airlines, and they have Alaska, the Atmos program. And that means you can get flights with American Airlines, domestic flights for very cheap, sometimes as low as 4,500 points for a one-way. And so their partners are just the best of the best, and that's just more reason to love the card. But now we get into the heavy math, and that is the BILT Cash option. Now, this is because it not only earns, if you choose the BILT Cash option, it not only earns 2x on all of your spending, you also get 4% on that spending in BILT Cash. Now, if that BILT Cash, which is just kind of their own metric, their own kind of monopoly money in the system, and it can be used for a lot of reasons. But if you were just look at it at face value, and if that BILT Cash was a 1-to-1 value, then you're looking at a 6% return on every time you swipe this card, which in and of itself would be amazing. Now, people are going to say, well, of course you can't get 1-to-1 for that BILT. Well, you can for some of it, but I would agree you can't for all of it because they do have limits. If not, they're just giving a 6% card on everything. So you can use like $50 a month for hotels. You can use $10 a month for Lyft, $10 a month for Walgreens, and a whole slew of other options. So it does take some effort and some work in order to get 1-to-1 on some of that BILT Cash money. But the interesting things about that BILT Cash is if you choose the BILT Cash option, then what you have to do to get points on your mortgage or rent is you have to activate it with some BILT Cash. And that comes out to a rate like this. It's $30 of BILT Cash in order to unlock $1,000 of mortgage or rent payment to get back that much in points. So if you activate $30, 1,000 points will come back to you from whatever your mortgage is, provided it's $1,000 or more. If you have a $2,000 mortgage, you activate with 60 BILT Cash dollars, and then you're going to get the full 2,000 points on your mortgage or rent. Now, I'm going to use that example of 2,000 because that's in the neighborhood of where my mortgage is. And so all the numbers are going to be based upon that, and the numbers would change based upon what your rent or mortgage is. But it's just kind of an easy number to work from. So let me walk through this. And the reason this is a little bit intriguing is because you have to factor in both the earnings on the card, the 2x on everything that you get in BILT points. Then you have to factor in if you're activating your mortgage. And then you have to factor in the BILT Cash. What is that even worth? And I think that's going to be different for everybody, but I'm going to give a few examples of some potential value. And then there's also one of the things you can spend BILT Cash on is you can spend $200 in BILT Cash to do a points accelerator, which boosts your earnings on the card by 1x on $5,000 of spend, and you can do that up to 5 times a year. So if you're doing that points accelerator, let's say you use your $200 BILT Cash that you get every year with the card, then you're going to be able to constantly be starting off with that points accelerator. So now your card is a 3x base earning card. Now I know all of this. I warned you. It's confusing. There's a lot of math involved in this, but you got to look at the upside. And here's how it plays out. Because the math is particularly difficult because it changes. It goes kind of like on an arc. I mean, you get better returns, then you hit a spending threshold, and then they slightly start to fall off. So I'm going to give you some examples. So bear with me as we go through how this math could math out. Now, if a person had that $2,000 mortgage that we're using as an example, and they spent only $500 a month on this card, then they would receive 1,000 BILT points for their spending, and they'd have an extra $20 in BILT Cash. Now, that BILT Cash could possibly be used for some Lyft rides, or it could be used for Walgreens, and that would change the return from just a 2x to whatever that is valued at, which could be a big time boost on your cent per point value. Now, if you move it up to a $1,000 a month spending, so you're spending about half of what your mortgage amount is, then you would receive 2,000 BILT points for your base spend, and you could activate part of your mortgage at $30 of BILT Cash and get another 1,000 points for your mortgage, and you still have 10 BILT Cash left over, so that's 3,000 points or 3 points per dollar on your spending that month. So right now, if you're spending half of what your mortgage or rent are, you've just made it a 3x card because of the extra points you're getting from half of your mortgage. And then if you use the extra 10 BILT Cash you had left over and you bought a Lyft or a Walgreens for $10, then that $10 would, at 1 cent per point, would be about another 1,000 points. So that would be 4,000 points in value, which would be about 4 points per dollar. Now that's, of course, if you were able to use the BILT Cash for that purpose. Then we move on up the chart, and it becomes very interesting. Because at $1,500 in spend, which is 75% of what your mortgage amount is, you're going to get 3,000 BILT points for your spending, plus you're going to be able to activate your entire mortgage to get the full 2,000 extra points, which is 5,000 points, coming out to a 3.3 point per dollar return on your spend that month. So right now, you've got a catch-all credit card that's over 3% back. It's 3.3 points per dollar. Moving up the spend ladder, if you spend $2,000 a month, which is exactly what your mortgage amount is, then you're going to get 4,000 BILT points plus another 2,000 BILT points for your mortgage amount. And then you're going to have an extra $20 of BILT Cash left over after you spend the $60 BILT Cash to activate the mortgage. So you've got 6,000 points, and that's a flat 3 points per dollar. So it's dipped down a little bit from when you spent 75. But remember, you have some extra BILT Cash. If you just did a Lyft ride and a Walgreens that month and spent the $20 in BILT Cash on that, if those points are worth 1 cent per point, potentially put you up at 8,000 points in total value. And I understand they're different metrics, but that would be about 4 points per dollar. So that it's so potentially valuable at all of these different tiers. If you spend $3,000 on the card, so more than your mortgage, the numbers change again. You'd get 6,000 BILT points plus 2,000 for your mortgage. You'd have an extra 60 BILT Cash, so you're getting 8,000 points, which is down to about 2.66 points per dollar. But with that extra BILT Cash, you could book $50 of a hotel room. How valuable is that? That would be around 5,000 points in value. Plus, you could do a Lyft ride, or you see how this could work out. I mean, depending on how you do it, and it's up to you. It's however hard you want to play this game. But if you play the game hard, then the value of those credits plus the value of all your points would come out to about 4.66 points per dollar. Then if you were to spend double your mortgage, so $4,000 a month on the card, the numbers are again going to change. You'd get 4,000 in BILT points plus 2,000 for your mortgage. You'd now be able to do something we call the points accelerator. The points accelerator, for $200 of BILT Cash, you can activate that 1x extra on everything for up to $5,000 in spend. So now your base is at 3x. Well, when you add all that together, that's 14,000 points in the month. And then as you spend more and more and more, the numbers start to shift again. If you were to spend $10,000 a month on this card, so that is 5 times what your rent or mortgage are, then the numbers start to drop again. As I said, there's kind of a curve that takes it back down. Because in that case, you'd get 20,000 BILT points plus only 2,000 for your mortgage. You'd be able to do the accelerator, and that would only take half of your BILT Cash. And this is provided, of course, that you haven't used up your 5 accelerators, which is going to change the math again. But if you haven't used up all those accelerators, you're going to end up with an extra $140 in BILT Cash. So for your base earning rate, even with the accelerators, now it's down to like 2.7 cents per point. But you could use that extra 140 in BILT Cash, and you could then go and buy a hotel room, or you could maybe do lift credits, and all the different ways that you can get some value back from it. And I think what you're seeing in this, as I told you in the beginning, this is a lot of math, and it changes. But I don't think it needs to be that hard, because even if you're like, well, I can't figure all that out, I don't want to go and have to do that high-level math at every single spend level, and if I spend an extra $100, is that going to change it? Well, the thing is, you don't have to, because you're still getting 2x, which is as good as any other card on the market that gets you back points. I'm not talking about cash back. I know there's Robinhood Gold and all that, but if you're just getting points back, there's no other card on the market that beats it. So even if you don't maximize the math perfectly, you're still getting as good a return as you'd get anywhere else in the best ecosystem with the best points partners. So, I mean, you don't have to worry about it, but you can know that no matter what spending level you're at, you're going to get outsized value. This card can take you anywhere from a base of 2x, which is already great, all the way up to well over a 4, depending on how you use your BILT Cash. There is no other credit card in the history of credit cards that rewards people like that. Will it last? I don't know. But I'm gonna get my points while I can and get my perks. Now, if you're interested in the BILT card, I do have a referral link down below. If you'd like to support the channel and apply for the Palladium card, please consider doing so. I know this has been like the most brain-breaking, intense math discussion, and you could come out with very different numbers. I acknowledge that, because how you use that BILT Cash is going to change with every single person, and it's going to look very, very different. I get that. But let me know what you think down below. Some of you are going to comment, it is just an absolute mess, and I'm not going to mess with all of that. That is too much to think about, and that's fine. Some of you are going to say, oh man, more to game. I'm going to beat this system. And you're going to feel like I do, and that's great. But here's the thing. No matter who you are, you don't have to think about all that stuff. Just get the card and use that card to get at even a base rate. Even if you don't go into all that gaming and figure out the BILT Cash perfectly, you're still going to get as good a return as anybody else. And in the end, if you use anything else, you're going to beat the return that any other card could possibly give you. If you would, please consider my channel memberships, $2.99 a month. I give special release videos just for my channel members every week, and also early release videos. I have a higher tier called Spreadsheet Warriors for people who like stuff like this, who really want to game and go hard at this credit card thing. You can check that out too. I appreciate you being here. I'm girding myself up, preparing for the comments, but I appreciate every single one of you. Put your comments down below, hit the like and subscribe button, and I will see you here next time.